Have you ever thought a poem was too long or didn't have enough natural imagery to it? Well, look no further because we have what's called the haiku. I'm Nicholas Saul and I'll be guiding you through the haiku, nature's poetry. So, the entomology and origin behind the word haiku is actually very interesting. According to Britannica, the term haiku is derived from the first element of the word hakai, which is a humorous form of renga, or linked verse poem, and the second element of the word hoku, which is the initial stanza of the renga. The hoku is responsible for setting the mood and tone for the renga. Hoku had to mention subjects such as seasons, time of day, and features of the landscape in its three lines. This made the Hoku itself almost a completely independent poem from the Renga. And it wasn't until the late 19th century that the Hoku, which at the time was interchangeably called the Hakai, became known as the Haiku. The definition of haiku has changed throughout time. According to the Norton Introduction to Literature, a haiku is a poetic form, Japanese in origin, that in English consists of 17 syllables arranged in three unrhymed lines of 5, 7, and 5 syllables, respectively. However, according to the Oxford English Dictionary, a haiku is a form of Japanese verse developed in the mid 16th century, usually consisting of 17 syllables and originally of jesting character, an English imitation of one. Haikus have a lot of key features that separate them from other poems and other genres. Haikus specifically try to describe a natural object or imply one's state of mind. Haikus usually have a seasonal aspect to them, usually incorporating descriptions of nature related to a season of the year. For example, a poem about the summer, for example, would have a lot of imagery about warmth, sunlight, flowers blossoming, while a poem about the spring might have a lot of imagery about like rain, rebirth, and flowers blooming. Poems about fall might be about leaves and chilly air and wind, while winter might have snow, dead animals or plants, and other natural imagery associated to certain words. The typical haiku, however, is composed of 17 sounds, which were later translated to syllables in English and are distributed across three lines in a pattern of 5 syllables, then 7 syllables, then 5 syllables again. Haikus also typically have no set rhyme scheme, as they're trying to really relate small messages without the usage of rhyming. The haiku was mainly influenced by one individual in particular, who was known as Matsuo Basho, or the father of haiku. He was born in 1644 in Uno, Japan. He was interested in haiku from an early age, but decided to put aside his personal interests in order to serve the local feudal lord as a samurai. After his lord's death in 1666, Basho devoted himself to poetry and traveled throughout Japan, writing about the sights and sounds that he saw. He used his Zen philosophy that he studied into his poetry, usually compressing world meaning into his poetry and portraying hidden hopes in small things, while showcasing the independence and separation of all objects. A common term that was frequently used to describe his style was sabi, which means the love of the old, the faded, and the unobtrusive. His most famous poem, The Old Pond, is arguably said to be the most famous Japanese haiku to date. The original Japanese work can be seen here in Japanese characters, which literally translates to Fururuki ya kawazu tobikomu mizu no oto. The work translated to English, according to La Facidio Hearn, is Old Pond, frogs jump in, the sound of water. Examples of other haikus by Basho include A Village Without Bells and In Kyoto. A Village Without Bells, for example, is A Village Without Bells. How do they live? Spring dusk. And Kyoto is In Kyoto, hearing the cuckoo. I long for Kyoto. Haikus have been so influential that they've spread to social media platforms as a way to talk about change and imagery and overall beauty of the world. Twitter specifically has been mainly has been largely influenced. Due to the fact that Twitter has a 280 character limit, thousands of people have tried to use it to craft what they have officially dubbed as Haiku. The topics for this are seemingly endless: cats, cars, jobs, movies, life, zombies, ghosts, footballs, dogs, magic, anything you could think of, Chwaiku's got it. The activity first grabbed headlines in early 2010 when CEO of Sun Microsystems Jonathan Schwartz used Chwaiku to tweet out his resignation to the world. The following Chwaiku is right here: financial crisis, stall too many customers, CEO no more. However, there have been other modern haikus written and published by famous poets all over the world, and other haikus have dominated Twitter as well. An example of a modern haiku can be seen here by Etheridge Knight, titled "The Eastern Guard Tower." Eastern Guard Tower glints in sunset. Convicts rest like lizards on rocks. While a haiku can be seen right here by at Kearney's class, to be effective, you must engage with students so they understand. With that being said, I hope you guys learned a lot more about the haiku in general and about just overall seasonal imagery in poetry.